Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Space News by SpaceIndustryNews.com. My name is Will, and today we're going to be talking about SpaceX's Starlink internet constellation. Also, some NASA astronauts tried out the newest SpaceX suits, and there's also some service modules that are European built that have arrived in the US for the first Orion moon mission. So first, let's talk about SpaceX's Starlink internet constellation. Basically, what they're going to be doing is shooting up a bunch of satellites. These satellites are going to provide global internet. So all of this information, all the information that's on the internet will be available to everybody at any time due to these satellites. Now, according to Teslarati.com, they said it's a license to print money. And there's a professor, Mark Handley, had said the Starlink internet satellite constellation has the potential to significantly disrupt the global networking economy and infrastructure, and do so with as little as a third of the initial proposal's 4,425 satellites. That's a lot of satellites, man. 4,425 satellites. Let's talk about what happens when all of those satellites get decommissioned. That's a lot of stuff up in space. Hopefully they'll deorbit fine and burn up in the atmosphere, and it'll be, totally fine. But that's a lot of stuff up in space. So a step or so further, this is according to Teslarati, Dr. Handley, according to the University College London colleague, suspects that a network like that proposed by SpaceX could rapidly become, quote, a license to print money, thanks to the tangible benefits it would provide financial institutions and banks. As of today, shaving mere milliseconds off communications can be a serious competitive advantage for traders. So these low Earth orbit satellites will be providing internet access to those who don't have internet access right now, and traders all over the world, as opposed to getting high latencies from a trip around the world with the current internet system. Supposedly this satellite system is going to make it much faster, more connected, and the benefits greatly outweigh the negatives of it, because if you think about it, these satellites, I'm not sure how they're going to be funded, or how they're going to make money, or if they want to make money. SpaceX is probably just doing this because they can. It's sort of like sending a Tesla out into outer space on a rocket, just because they can. They might rent space on these satellites, I don't know. But think about current ISPs, cable internet, satellite internet. The current ISPs, if these satellites work and they're able to connect to the current infrastructure of the internet, and we're able to go to the same sort of, websites, YouTube and Google and wherever else you go, Reddit, then, it's a huge disruptor for our current internet. And if they charge any sort of money for it, it's going to probably net them a ton of money, just probably to pay the bills, probably to pay for the mission to Mars. This is another way for them to make money. So Elon Musk and SpaceX can start sending people and things to Mars in the near future. So hopefully all goes well and this thing works out. I mean, 4,425 orbiting satellites, they're going to be in low Earth orbit. So, just think about how we live right now. That's kind of crazy that a company has the ability to do that they can send up that many satellites and provide global internet access. Now, that being said, NASA also tried out some spacesuits inside the Crew Dragon, the SpaceX spacesuits. NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley kitted themselves up in SpaceX's sleek spacesuits and tested them out inside the Crew Dragon spacecraft built by SpaceX. So NASA commercial crew You can check them out on Twitter at commercial_crew. They have a video of these guys hanging out in there, and it shows Benkin and Hurley with their visors in both the up and down positions, chatting and exploring the screens and controls in front of them. And but before the spacecraft can launch with humans on board, the crew has to pass all the on-ground tests. So this is part of that, which includes getting the astronauts comfortable working inside the capsule, and making sure that everything works right. There's touch screens in there, so making sure that all the equipment works well with all the other equipment. So the gloves on the spacesuits have to work well with the touch screens, and they have to be able to maneuver around properly in the capsule to do all the things that they need to do to pilot this thing back to Earth, and to hang out in there, and talk about work at the water cooler, in space, as they're floating around and flying back to Earth. This thing. So they're getting comfortable with that. And also, speaking of NASA, there's a European-built service module that's arrived in the U.S. for the first Orion moon mission. Now, so the powerhouse that will help NASA's Orion spacecraft venture beyond the moon is finally stateside, and the European-built service module that will propel, power, and cool during Orion's flight to the moon, an Exploration Mission 1, arrived from Germany at the agency's Kennedy Space Center in Florida to begin outfitting, integration, and testing with the new crew module and other Orion elements. So this rocket system, the service module, it'll be responsible for in-space maneuvering throughout the mission, including course corrections. And the service module will also provide the powerful burns to insert Orion into lunar orbit, and again, to get out of lunar orbit and return safely to Earth. It's provided by ESA, the European Space Agency, and built by ESA's prime contractor Airbus of Bremen, Germany. NASA's prime contractor for Orion, Lockheed Martin, built the crew module and other elements of the spacecraft. So a NASA spokesperson said, "We have a strong foundation of cooperation with ESA through the International Space Station Partnership, and the arrival of the service module signifies that our international collaboration extends to our deep space human exploration efforts as well." So this thing will, to break it down, it's going to be able to maneuver our capsule. It's going to be able to maneuver our spacecraft in and out of lunar orbit. Excuse me. And it will safely bring humans and other things to and from the moon. So this is, it's all stateside now. We're doing some tests on it, I'm sure. And they're going over a bunch of logistics on it. And I'm sure they're testing it to make sure everything's okay. And then they're going to move on to the next phase. So for now, that's it for space news. But I will be providing another podcast for you guys tomorrow. This is kind of a short one. I apologize for that. But tomorrow will be a little bit longer. Normal size. This is a shrinky-dink size today. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's supported the podcast. If you want to support the podcast yourself, you can give us a star rating if you really like it. If you want to leave a comment, that would be even greater. Also, if you are willing and inclined, you can, there's a link in our description, and you can click on that. It's for anchor.fm. That's the link. Click on that. Check that out. And there's a way to financially support the pod so I can continue doing these things for you guys every single day. So I appreciate your guys' support, and I will see you tomorrow. My name is Will, signing off from the Space News.